Hey, what's up, guys? Tugi here, back again with another episode of my Milwaukee Ospreys franchise mode series right here on NHL 18. And we have finally reached the year one draft. Obviously, it's taken just a tad bit longer than it did in the Buffalo series due to our playoff matchups. Of course, we end up losing in the Western Conference Final. LA goes on to get stomped by Tampa, and that brings us to this moment. Let's get right down to business because I don't know what this episode's going to end up looking like by the end of this. What this team's going to end up looking like by the end of this. We have the trade block set to be completely open. We could get quite a few offers, I would imagine. Whether or not someone like Pekka Rinne is traded in this episode, I'm not entirely sure. As it is, we do not have a draft pick in the first or second round, so maybe acquiring some extra draft picks would be the way to go. We could use Rinne to trade up into the first round, but it would be towards the middle, if not the end of the first round, if nobody was interested in him. So potentially trading him outright for a draft pick might not be the way to go, when odds are we can assume that draft pick would be medium top six at best. Medium top six guys, you can see what, for a forward example ends up looking like. I mean, for Kevin Fiala, it about balances out. So it would almost make more sense to just outright trade him and get a little bit more, just to get a player back directly. It's a weird spot we find ourselves in, of course, as we are a competitive team and we're going to continue to look to be competitive. This might just be the right time to just kind of sit back and wait to see what happens. So we're going to go through the first round. I'm going to see what kind of offers we get. If we get an offer for Rinne, cool. Keep in mind, this is the Dahlin draft, so the Sabres will end up getting Dahlin anyway, which is pretty cool. But let's see what happens here. So first up, no. Our second round pick next year for Zach Smith and Chris Weidman. No thank you. I'll pass. Ryan Hartman for Jordan Greenway. I will also pass on that. Thank you very much. Montreal, what are you doing? What are you doing? So the expiring contract of Dan Hamhuis for one of their better prospects in Jake Evans. What are you doing? He's a 75, so he actually developed a little bit better at the end of year one in the Buffalo series. Case in point, how low top six potentials they can develop strangely. Again, Hamhuis is on an expiring deal. He's 35. I can't believe he has enough trade value to begin with to pull that off. The question is, do I want to show Montreal no mercy? I'm going to take a look at their defensive situation. And to be honest, I don't really think that they need a Dan Hamhuis. So I'm going to be kind to them and save them from themselves for now. But I could have been ruthless there and ruined their lives. The Panthers, on the other hand, are offering me Jared McCann and a sixth, which, again, just, oh, God. With everything that we've talked about and everything that we've seen for NHL 19, they say AI GMs are going to be smarter with the way they set up their teams. I certainly hope so. Let's see the defensive situation in Florida. Of course, they ended up with Dylan Larkin. Cap-wise, there's no way they're going to be able to afford to keep him. There's no way. Let me see here. Yeah, Larkin hasn't even signed his extension. What are you doing? What are you doing? Could you use an extra defenseman? Maybe. No, I'm going to save you from yourselves, because otherwise Larkin ends up hitting the free, or ends up being an RFA. It's ridiculous. Fiala for Luot-Striinen and McCown will pass. We're into the second round, by the way. Weidman for a fourth. I'll decline that. Hartman for a first next year. I'll decline that as well. Nick Bonino for a second. Matt Molson. No, I'm good, thanks. And that brings us to one of the final picks of the third round. Of course, we had the chance to trade up. Didn't really want to do it, despite, how good this draft is in a way. There wasn't really anybody I was looking to give up aside from Pekka Rinne. We got no offers from Pekka Rinne. It's not needed in a way for us to trade him. We could still go with him and Saros for now. So I'm not entirely sure, but we'll look back through the draft here. Is again, Dahlin to the Sabres, Svechnikov to the Sharks, Zadina third, Brady Tkachuk fourth, and Kotkaniemi fifth. You have Kravtsov, Quinn Hughes to the Islanders, Dobson, Boqvist, Bouchard, Keandre Miller, Oliver Wahlstrom, Joe Veleno, Barrett Hayton goes 14th. Ty Smith, Ryan Merkley, Joel Farabee, Isaac Lundstrom, Sarah Noel. I think it's Matthias Samuelson, Rasmus Kupari, Dominic Bach, Jared McIsaac, Gregory Denisenko, Martin Kaut, quite a few picks of the Rangers and the Red Wings there. Rasmus Sandin, Jet Wu, Jack McBain, Kalen Addison, Albin Eriksson, I believe it is, and Martin Fehervary, or however the hell you want to pronounce that. I heard it pronounced at the draft, and I'm like, oh, I've been saying it wrong the whole time. So I am honestly not sure at this point how to pronounce his name correctly. At this point, I am just going to scroll through, and you can, of course, see the names here that have been drafted at this point. I don't want to waste too much time. SDA to the Rangers, though, is one that jumps out. Luke Hedman, I believe it is. As well, Bodie Wild goes first pick of the 3rd round to the Blackhawks. Again, some players, for some reason, just really drop off with those potentials. But Wild, Liam Foudy, Ball as well, Kevin Ball, Ryan McLeod, Alexiev. Don't know why certain players fall to the 3rd round. It's just kind of how it works. It's strange, really, but there's a lot of mysteries and question marks, especially with those 3, these 4, these 5, as far as why they fall to the 3rd round. Don't get it. It is what it is, though. As far as who's still available for us to take, that's a very good question. Bernard Docker, who went to the Ottawa Senators, if I'm not mistaken. I know he's low top 4. Philip Hollander's there. Ginning, Scarrick's there. Obviously, getting a goaltender would be nice, but I don't think he's the one to get. With our goaltending depth, though, we do need somebody of that caliber. Him or Rodrigue would be solid options. Tyler Tucker's there. The interesting option to take here, or the outside option, Nils Lundqvist, who in real life was a 1st-round pick as well. The outside option, the interesting option, the smarter option, you could argue, would be to take computer-generated players at this point in time, which I don't necessarily disagree. And obviously, if you watch the Buffalo series, you'll know that we didn't always do that, and we had mixed success. But right now, as far as players who are actually computer-generated, we're having a tough time finding anybody. Fix Wolanski's there. Moser. Again, tough to tell. Some of these Canadians that, were just guys you'd never see before because I, had to fix their overalls and potentials because I had them rated way too lowly. Or, I don't know. Lost my train of thought, I'll admit it. Do we go for a goaltender? And if we do, it's probably going to be Worrell or that other guy at the bottom of the list as opposed to Scarrick. Or do we go for Bernard Docker to get a low top 6 defenseman into the mix? We do need some defensive prospects. Bernard Docker, Jennings there, Nils Lundqvist. Ah, boy, that's a tough call. I think I'm going to prioritize goaltending later on. I think we'll have defense now. Let's take Bernard Docker. Let's do it. Jacob Bernard Docker. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Haven't used him in a series, of course. Our 4th round pick for a 5th this year and a 5th next year. I will do that, actually. I'm all right with trading down. And then the ability to trade up, which it gives up a 7th. So I'll actually do that. We'll trade up there in that instance. Ham Hughes for a 2nd and Anthony Angelo. Pittsburgh, what are you doing? Does this trade make sense for you before I really screw you over here by taking advantage of this inflated space? Or inflated trade value. And really it does. Because you have Chad Ruedel there. They do kind of need someone else. Is anyone close to developing to being that good? They do kind of need another defenseman. I'm going to take this one. I'm not even going to add extra value because I feel bad. I'll send them damn Ham Hughes for a 2nd next year and Anthony Angelo. Pittsburgh, I'm not going to save you from yourselves and your own stupidity. I am not trading Bonino to the Flyers. Holy shit. Where the hell do we start with this one? So Ryan Ellis, Matt Irwin, and Austin Watson, along with a 5th round pick, to St. Louis for Robert Thomas, a 1st, and I believe that's Chad Johnson. So basically, Robert Thomas and a 1st for Ryan Ellis. No, but that is a really good offer. And it would get rid of Austin Watson. And it would bring in a hell of a backup goalie that we'd still have to sign. That's a really interesting trade from the AI. because that's not like a robbery for either team. But obviously I don't want to get rid of Ryan Ellis, even though in real life, of course, we don't have his extension signed. He signed it after we started this series. But I do want to keep the Nashville top 4 together for as long as I can. So I am going to decline that, but that's a really interesting offer from the Blues. No. I love Milan Lucic, but no. No, thank you. As far as the rest of the draft, I will scroll through for the hell of it. Let me go back to where we were there in the 3rd round, just so you can see who else was selected. I'm mainly intrigued by the computer-generated goaltenders as opposed to the fringe goaltenders that I knew were there. Of course, in this past year's draft, no one was really projected to be an elite-level guy. So a starter in Worrell, had a feeling he was pretty good. Wotherspoon, computer-generated medium elite. Good steal for Calgary. If he develops, Fowler was also a medium starter. So there's that. We have the first pick here of the 5th round. When's the last time I went to a draft without the 1st or 2nd round pick, by the way? Pretty crazy. Let's see who we have here. Zudilov. You played in the W. You're probably real. Lafreniere. Farron? Michael Farron. I don't know if you're real or not. Zabransky? Yeah, I'd say you're real. Walker, Teasdale, Tarsdale, Leopard, Florchuk, Connor Roberts. Legend on this channel. Adam Masherin's there. I do know he's half decent, of course, being an overager. I'm not going to take him. I took him in the Sabres series. Spoiler alert. Yuri Goldobin is definitely computer-generated. Alexiev is not. Bouchard? Xavier Bouchard? I actually don't know what his potential is. S. Voinov. This could be interesting. Thomas, you have to be real. Sergei Voinov. Close enough. And we also have the Ukrainian goalie Tutin. Good old Tutin. Is that it for 56th round projected? Linus Niemann's there. Turkalainen, Sodergren, Kolina, Barandon, who I'm pretty sure is real. Okay, I think we're good, and we are. There is Ennis, though. William Ennis, he's real. Okay, I learned something today. So it's going to be one of these pinned players who we go with. If anyone's 19, they'll probably get the edge. 18 for Goldobin. Bouchard, of course, is real. I just don't know what his potential is. Voinov's 18, and Tutin the goaltender. I'm going to go for the goaltender. It's a bigger need. So let's see if the Ukrainian can be medium starter. He is. He's a 54, so he's got some development to do. But potentially a future backup in the Ukrainian Tutin. Nick Bonino for Zykov. Now, I would like to get rid of that Bonino contract at some point, maybe sooner rather than later. That's not the worst deal in the world, but I'm not going to take it. Hartman for Aho and Grice. I'm not taking that Grice contract. There's no way. As we have another contract coming up. Nobody major went off the board. Matter of fact, all the pinned players that I had are still available. So we'll end up taking another one. It's either going to be Goldobin or Voinov. And let's go for the center, just in case. Let's take Goldobin, the Russian. And that was another good decision on my part. So we didn't end up with a 1st or 2nd round pick, but we're doing quite well. They're lower overalls, but a low top 4 defenseman in Bernard Docker, a medium starter, and a medium top 6 forward. Not bad for the first-year draft. I am not trading you Victor Arvidsson. That's not going to happen. I am not trading you Matthias Ekholm, even though that's an interesting offer. I decline. Thank you very much, Toronto. That's a very smart move on Toronto's part to offer a deal for Matthias Ekholm. That's a very smart move. I'm kind of surprised. Right as I kind of dumped on how smart the AI is on occasion. As we'll take Sergei Voinov here as well. Why not? See if we can get lucky with the Latvian sniper. Not so much, but high bottom 6 isn't a disaster. Yarncroke for Neuwirth, no. But God, 5 years for Yarncroke. Our first next year for Lucic, no. Bonino for... Ooh. It was good until it was Molson. It was a good offer until it was Matt Molson. He only has 1 year left. That's not a bad deal for Goulet, but obviously I'm using him in the Sabres series, so no. Bonino, oh, don't you tug on my heartstrings with Christian Molanin. Don't know why. He's just one of the players that I really like, and obviously he featured somewhat prominently in the Ottawa series for as long as it made sense. We're not going to do that. I'm not trading for Lucic. Stop it. Borgen for Molson. Absolutely not. Fiala for Velarde. No. Ekholm for Bracco and a 1st. No. The problem wasn't The problem wasn't Kapanen. A first for Bodker, Weidman. You're drunk. Get out of here. Jesus. No, I don't want Bodker. Leave me alone. I don't want Nilsson either. Jesus. Saros for a first. You have Carey Price. What are you doing? No. I'll save you from yourself. Toronto, leave me alone. No. I'm not getting rid of the big four. Weber for Brandon Peary. I'm going to say no just because we have no room for Peary. Hartman for Merkley straight up. No. Is that actually our last pick? Sissons for a third? I would have said yes prior to Sissons having as good of a regular season as he did. Yarncrook for Neuwirth. No. Do we have a seventh? We don't. That's it. That is it. We end up with 4 picks in this draft. That is it. Wow. That's the fastest we've ever made it through a draft. And we made trades too. So there we go. Over and done with on that front. Let's move in towards the re-sign phase here and figure out if we're going to be screwed. Of course, we did free up the money. It was going to be freed up anyway from Hamhuis' former contract. We have $6 million in cap space. We shouldn't find ourselves in too much trouble, of course, because, now the contracts are changing over to what they're going to be in real life. Vejmelka is a UFA. We will probably let go of him. He's 22. I don't see him developing. I'd rather play Vesterholm. So he can go. We'll end up having to sign one more goaltender. It's not going to be Vomachka or Vomachka. It's Rusev Day. And we won't sign Tootin either. Defensively, Bieksa we'll let go of. Of course, we ended up signing him. We'll let go of him for now. Fabro is 20. We don't have to sign him this year. It makes sense to sign him, though. Ference, I will probably wait until next year. And we got Bernard Docker at 17 and Paquette at 19. Who else do we have before I make those signings? Voinov, we're not going to worry about. Koltagin, we're not going to worry about. Koltigan. And at center, do we have anybody? We do not. Novak's 21, though. And Pitlick's also 21. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hold off for now. At the very least, I need to sign an extra goaltender. I don't, actually. We're at 5. Never mind. We're golden. I'm going to take a look at what players might be available. But odds are I'll probably just go through and sign the unsigned players that we already have. So that's the one thing I do like about having the roster set up this way. And again, I've talked about it in the editing process. Either you can just add an extra year to certain contract extensions. For example, John Tavares, technically, adding his deal in, it would have been an 8-year deal, not a 7. Or you can go through and edit every single player and update it so that the initial season and this season, in this franchise mode would have been like real world. It's not what we did. The benefit to that is I don't have to worry about re-signing basically anybody at the end of year 1, as Larkin, Reinhart, and Ritchie all hit the market. Of course, this started before Larkin's contract extension was signed, so that's a situation we cannot really avoid. Goaltending-wise, Mason and Pavelik are the only 2. So let's see. Jorn Van Pottelberg and Evan Cormier. We don't really need another goaltender, though. We don't. It's just not the right time to bring in either one of those 2, but it would have been nice. Defensively, nobody that good. Well, Niemelainen. The Oilers let go of him for some reason. There wasn't anybody half decent. Quincy, Martin. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. We have 46 contracts. I can't prioritize signing Niemelainen over who we already have, though, of course. From the looks of it, we're just going to go out and sign who you think that we would end up signing. We're not going to get involved in the RFA front. We don't have space for them anyway. I mean, our roster's still set up to compete. Damien Riot would be half decent. But I think for now, we're at 46 contracts. We're just going to sign the players that we need to. If it makes sense to, of course. What I'm going to do is sim to the beginning of the preseason. We'll take a look at how many roster spots we have. Again, I don't really want to just sit here and just be like, all right, well, screw it. I'm going to trade you guys out and get what I need. Not really feeling that. So I don't have to sign Fabro, of course. Players can progress while unsigned. We're not pressured into signing Fabro until next season. And as well, Rem Pitlick, he can still improve. I don't know if I called him Tyler. I might have. Thomas Novak as well. As 2 seconds and Angelo. No. Please don't spam me with offers. I'd just like to get to the preseason. Please do not spam me with offers. Just make this easy for both of us. Spare me your spam, and let me do what I got to do here as we look to set up this team for Season 2. This is on pace right now to be the shortest off-season video in history. As we are good to go. So let's do this. Let's take a look at what the roster would be without signing any other players. Let's see what we're dealing with here. So Saros is up to an 84. That's not bad. Svoboda, Grosnick, and Vesterholm are there. So goaltender was set defensively. Oh boy. All right, it dropped off a little bit. We don't really have anybody better to step up. So Irwin and Boteto might be trading spots for now. That third pairing is going to be weak. We could use some defensive depth down in the AHL for this season. Lieutenant and Tenorti, of course, aren't going to improve. The others could. So we could use 2 defensemen. Forward-wise, I imagine, is where it gets to be a bit of a traffic jam. Let's see. Not really. I mean, Connor Brickley. You have Angelo, which, funny enough, I now have him in both ongoing NHL series. Oh, God, I can't avoid the burps. Can't do it. And Person, who kind of dominated last year as a fourth-line guy as well. So we could afford to bring in some defensemen, but forward-wise, there's just too many players already. So let's go ahead and sign 2 defensemen. So Dante Fabro and probably Ference. Ference. I'm going to call him Ference for now. Those will be the 2 guys we end up signing. And unfortunately, the forwards will have to wait until next season. So, yeah, perfect. Dante Fabro, welcome aboard. And Ference, welcome aboard. Now, judging by his overall, there might be a good enough reason to just give Dante Fabro a chance at the NHL level to start the year. And I think that's going to be our big topic of discussion, our big point of debate heading into the next episode. As, now I know, lefty-righty dynamic, people kill me for it, but I just want to take a look. Is Fabro a lefty or a righty? He is a righty. Okay, I'm not against using an extra righty with Weber. Not against it. So, in a way, we could carry 8 defensemen and have Boteto and Weber as scratches, or even send down Boteto. But I'm thinking Carrier, Parokta, Dougherty, Ference, Allard. Well, we could use 1 extra. So we could send down Boteto, or we have Fabro there, right? So let me know if you think Fabro should be third pairing or down in the AHL. For now, I'm going to set him up in the AHL. But he could be given an opportunity. He's only 1 point weaker. And then forward-wise, I mean, Tolvanen's an NHLer now, for sure. So I think because of that, like Angelo Grimaldi, Person's the one guy who's really going to be hurt here, because we're not going to have him be a healthy scratch. He's going to be down in the AHL for sure. So let's take a look at what we are dealing with. I think now more ideally, Smith will be starting the year on the third line. Who has better shooting? Hartman actually has better shooting. So I'll have Hartman on the left. So Hartman, Bonino, Smith. That's a hell of a third line on paper. And a second line of Fiala, Turris, Tolvanen, Forsberg, Johansson, Arvidsson. Now, this isn't so much about the lefty-righty dynamic, right? But, hear me out. Hear me out. That looks pretty good, too. Fiala, Johansson, Forsberg, Tolvanen, Turris, Arvidsson. That looks pretty good, too. Or even Tolvanen on the top line, which might be a bit too much too soon. But still, that top 9's looking great. And in the bottom 6, I mean, Yarncroke needs to get into this lineup. I think it would probably be Austin Watson, who you vote out and have him as the depth option. Obviously looking for a better season out of Yarncroke. He is the better center. That's a really good team, of course. Not surprising. We're taking over the Nashville Predators. But that's a pretty goddamn good team, man. And then defensively, obviously, that's the big weakness. We'll start with Yossi Subban. They didn't work well together last year. But having Anthony Boteto there to start, he actually gets in on best lines over Matt Irwin. And then the goaltender, we could give it to Pecorine, but if he struggles, UC Saros is ready. UC Saros is ready. We could look to trade Rene ourselves, leave him up on the block, or just have him as the backup just in case. But this team is set up to compete yet again. And down in the AHL, the Admirals. I mean, hell, they won the Calder Cup last year. I'm intrigued to see what they could do this year, as Svoboda's up to a 75. He'll be with Nicholas Vesterholm as the 1-2 punch there. And defensively, we're shaping up to have Allard, and Donovan would be out for whom? Would it be Lehtinen? I don't really think he's going to get that much better, actually. So we could just bring in Tenorti for Donovan, or just leave Donovan in. I guess it doesn't really matter. Let's see, in terms of potentials here. Yeah, we could just go Carrier-Fabro. It's not terrible. Let's have Fabro on that side. Parokta, Allard, Dougherty. Let's go Dougherty, Allard. We'll have Allard on the left. He's better with the puck. And then Donovan, Parokta. We'll have Donovan on that side. It's not a bad defense. Is that a Calder Cup winning defense? I'm not sure. Obviously, if we can get Carrier, Dougherty, Allard to be close to NHL level, depth options, that'd be pretty solid. Olivier, we have to take out of the lineup. He's actually not ours. He's under an AHL deal. Who is he taking a spot from? Seattle? Richard, Richard, Trennan. Need to get those two into the lineup for sure, so let's get Richard in there. And then who would be the next logical guy to scratch? Probably Tanner Janot. Although, obviously, it's a certain someone. Actually, no, Gregor. I don't think Gregor is signed. He might be. I'll take Gregor out. I mean, he's what? Yeah, he's 23. Gaudette's 25. Kirkland still has a little bit of potential. I mean, it's got to be one of these three. Based off of attributes, I think it's just going to be Gregor. I mean, Gaudette is what Gregor will become. So we can take out Gregor. Or Gregoire, perhaps. And, does Moy have good potential? He's okay. He's kind of in the same spot. Although Magwood, I want to get into the lineup. All right, Yakov Trenin. You're actually going to replace the other guy. You're going to replace Gaudette, former Portland Pirate, if I'm not mistaken. And Yakov Trenin will be the center there. So as far as this team is shaping up, we do have the decision to make. I'm looking at who more physical players are that I don't give a damn about. Angelo's actually not terrible. We could go Kirkland, Angelo, and Ronaldo. It's not a bad line. Actually, I might give them higher line. Who are the lowest overalls? Yeah, we can do that. So let's go Kirkland, Ronaldo, Angelo's more of a grind line. Trennan, unfortunately, is going to be down on the fourth line, but them's the breaks. Richard will get into the higher line pairings. Grimaldi there, Goodrow there. Persson, I mean, Pedersen killed it before, but unfortunately he has to drop. Slightly better defense from Persson. And we are good. We are good. Again, the Calder Cup winning team, a couple of new additions on defense and goal for backups, but both of these teams are still shaping up to be absolutely tremendous, in my opinion. I'd like to think we're going to have ourselves a good season. As mentioned, the only real debatable point is whether or not Austin Watson should be in instead of Salomaki, which you guys are going to say no anyway. Defensively, does Fabro get the chance immediately? Maybe we wait to see how he does in the AHL first. But for the most part, we're set up and good to go. There wasn't a whole hell of a lot to do, really. Like I said, the draft went very well. I am happy with where this team is at the moment. So with that, we're good to go. Not a marathon episode for once, but we are set up for Season 2. That begins in the next episode. Like I said, big questions, Dante Fabro, and the future of Pekka Rinne, short-term and long-term. What do you guys think? Because as it is, heading into the next off-season, we will have some questions to answer. Mainly, what do we do with Pekka Rinne? And I do believe Ryan Ellis' contract will be expiring. It will be. So we are going to have to deal with that. So Ellis' contract, Fiala, Hartman, Sissons, we'll have a little bit to worry about, and Pekka Rinne as well. So let me know what you guys think. Looking forward to seeing what you have to say as far as how we set up this team heading into Season 2. Thank you for watching. You know the deal. Support the video. Support the channel. I love your face. I'll see you next time.